Okay, and we're live. Good afternoon, everyone. So, good afternoon to our Zoom participants and good afternoon to our FB Live viewers. This is another session of our HR Virtual Summit PH 2020 Bounce Back HR. Welcome to another live webinar series for a cause powered by Ariva Academy. So, my name is Irish Malanda, your host. With me is my co-host and moderator, the dashing Mr. Howell Mabalot.
Dashing through the snow.
Yes, sir.
In a
Good
one-horse
afternoon.
open sleigh. Good afternoon sa lahat ng ating mga participants. Madam Aris, hindi lang sa Zoom, ano?
Yes.
FB Live.
FB Live.
LinkedIn.
YouTube.
LinkedIn and YouTube. Wow.
Yes. Okay. So our topic this afternoon is from surviving to thriving in the new normal. So before we introduce our guest speaker, sir, let me now welcome our out-of-the-country participants. We have participants from New Delhi, India, Jakarta, Indonesia, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, Doha, Qatar, Singapore City, Singapore, Bangkok, Thailand, Dubai, United Arab Emirates, Los Angeles, United States, and Chicago, United States. Okay? And in order for us to have a smooth flow of our e-learning sessions, here are the few reminders and house rules. For those of you who are first-time viewers of our webinar, please type in hi in the chat box now. Let me see and let us know where you're from so we can greet you. Okay, let's check who are the first-timers here. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay. And let's do sound check also. You will be needing a good quality headset, so use the following codes. We would like to know if you can hear us loud and clear and we are audible. So type in now 111 in the chat box. Loud and clear. Okay. Chrislet, hello. Welcome. Darwin, good afternoon. Okay. Rowell, loud and clear. Leanne, thank you so much. Miss Venus, hello po. Okay. So 111, if you can hear us, 222 means you can hear us. 2121 means our sound is breaking and there's a log. And question mark if you don't understand anything. Okay, we're good. Moving on, we will be having a 2 to 3 minute break after the presentation of our guest speaker and before we move on to the question and answer. For question and answer guidelines, participants' microphones will be temporarily disabled by the administrator during discussion to avoid interruptions. Questions will be entertained after each topic of the session. For questions and clarifications during the provided time after each topic, please click the raise hand button for the administrator to enable the microphone for live questions. Type in your questions at the Q&A box. We will entertain them after the presentation of the speaker. One question at a time will be entertained. For comments and feedback, please scan this QR code. This will be directed to our feedback form. Please send us your comments, suggestions, feedbacks for us to improve our future e-learning sessions. And to discuss from surviving to thriving in the new normal, Mr. Howell Mabalot, please introduce our speaker.
Yes, Ma'am Irish, definitely it is an honor for me to introduce our speaker for this afternoon session. She is the CEO of 4D Performance and has achieved great success as a leader, author, and speaker. Based on her research, she believes that Asia is primed to be the next global economic power. However, she also believes that there must be a shift in how the Asian workforce is prepared for this growth and global competitiveness, or there will be a missed opportunity. She grew a home-based training practice into a thriving multi-million-dollar performance management consulting firm. She blends success practices of the West with wellness philosophies of the East for a holistic approach to success. Everybody, let's put your hands together for Dr. Indigo Triplett.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. Give me a second while I bring up my slides.
Nice to see you again, Dr. Indigo.
It is truly my pleasure. You know, I think the world of you and Ariva. I applaud you for what you're doing. And I think we're just very fortunate to be in the space together, even though we're not supposed to be in direct contact.
True. And Dr. Indigo, if I may say a very good testimonial about your impact in my life. 2 years ago, August 2018, HR Congress here in the Philippines, I hosted the VIP luncheon, and you were one of the speakers there. And a Filipino asked you, which is easier to hire or to fire? Of course, all the Filipinos say it's easier to hire and it's harder to fire. And then you gave your answer. It's easier to fire than to hire. And so us Filipinos in the eastern world of the globe was thinking, we thought it was easier to hire than to fire. And you mentioned because you don't know who you're hiring, it's harder. But since you know who you're firing, it's easier. So from that moment on, Dr. Indigo, you have changed and reframed my mind. And thank you for that.
Well, I'm hoping that the things I say today will be life-altering, life-changing, and also inspiring. We spend so much time hearing about all the negative stuff that I think we need to take time out each day to, one, be grateful, and to acknowledge that what is happening is actually opening doors of opportunities for us. Like you and I probably would not have seen each other this year. But True. Because of this, now we can connect in a different way, and I think even on a higher level.
I agree. So Dr. Indigo, without further ado, the center stage is yours. The limelights are yours. Take it away.
See you in a little bit. Okay, you all, you have me, and I feel very fortunate to be here. I'm going to be sharing with you some things that I think are very relevant in terms of what to expect. As you can see on my slide, I have a picture of Asia. And I come to you with a background from the West. I'm from the US, born and raised, but I've been in and out of Asia since 1982, when I was actually in the Marine Corps serving over in Japan. I don't know if you knew that, Howell, that I was actually in the Marine Corps in Japan.
I knew it. Yes, yes.
So I've been coming back and forth. I was in China in 2012 when I was working on my doctorate. I had to do an international study in my internship. So I chose to go to Beijing to do it there. So I've been watching Asia from a distance, coming in and going out. And then I actually moved to Malaysia in 2016. So I've been here since. And I can tell you the things I'm going to share with you are things that I'm bringing from the West that I know you're prepared to embrace here in the East. And so, what we're talking about today is achieving sustainable success from surviving to thriving in the new normal. Now, write this down. Please tweet it, put it out on Facebook, because I don't know how to make this happen. But I was talking to a friend back in the US, and I said, I came up with a new quote. I love making up quotes. And this quote that I came up with is, those who do will survive. Those who try, no. It's my quote. So let me get it together. Here we go. Those who do will thrive. Those who try will survive. Those who don't will die. Now that sounds a little scary, doesn't it? But what I'm talking about is connecting. That when we connect and collaborate, those who collaborate will thrive. Those who try will only survive. And those who don't will die. And that's across everything we do in life as we move into the new normal. Like right now, I'm collaborating with Ariva. And I'm doing it because, one, I have a high respect for their products, their services, and who they represent, not just in the Philippines, but globally. And so you're collaborating with me. And through your collaboration, you are tapping into my knowledge, skills, and abilities. That's going to help us thrive. But see, a lot of people are stuck in the survival mode. And that's when you just try, you'll survive. So actually, we're talking about thriving. And if you're not even on here, which if you're not on here, you don't know what I'm saying, they're going to die. And what I mean by die, they will die socially. They'll die, their career is going to stall. Their companies will die. I'm not talking about a physical death here. I'm talking about a death that as a career-minded person, as a business professional, as an owner or leader, you got to connect. You got to collaborate. So that's my first truth of what I want to share with you all as we get started. The next thing I want to share with you is that I have a company called 4D Performance, and it basically mirrors my company that I used to have in the United States. And as you shared with them, I think I heard you say that I was on the Inc. list 3 times. Inc. is like Forbes, but it's for small businesses. And in 2012, I was ranked as the 239th fastest growing companies in America. Now, some of you are like, 239? Out of 500? That's okay. Well, think about it like this. Forbes said that there were 23 or 28 million small businesses that year. So to be 239 out of 28 million, or 23, who's counting? After so many millions, it's the same. So let's just go low score. 23 million, that's not bad. So I'm going to share with you some things that helped me to become one of the fastest growing companies in America 3 times. And part of the time that I was able to not only survive, but thrive is because I understood some things about growing a business, and I understood some things about managing your career. And let me tell you, I've gone through 3 significant crises in America. Remember 9/11? My company actually grew through 9/11 when a lot of companies went out of business. Then we had a thing called anthrax, where people were mailing poison to people it was crazy. It was internal, terrorism. But I weathered that storm as well. And then we had the government shutdown. So the government shutdown for us was significant. And had we stayed shut down, it would have impacted the rest of the world. So those are three things that I went through. So when I look at where we are now, I'm concerned, but I'm not, because I know how to move through these things because I've been there before, and I'm going to take you along with me, you all. I'm going to help you figure out things that you should be looking for, road signs, and so forth, because I've gone there. And so, just a little bit about my company. I work with organizations like USAID, where we help build other countries. Turner, CNN. Turner is owned by CNN. NASA, little organization you may have heard of. I don't know, but done some work with some huge organizations like the Pentagon. So some of the things I'm going to share with you are things that I shared with them that now I bring over to Asia, because I believe that Asia is going to be the next superpower. But it comes with a heavy price. The king that wears the crown understands that it's actually heavy. And if you don't do some things differently throughout Asia, not just the Philippines, but throughout Asia, you don't do some things differently, you will lose that power. So today I'm going to be talking about some things you need to start, stop, and continue doing. So if you have any questions, please write them. We said we would wait until the end, but I shared with Howell, I love to be engaged. So if I say something and it's not really clear, please stop me and say, hey, what did you mean by this? Because then I can deal with it at that time. Because very often, let me just share with you, anyone has ever heard me speak more than 3 times will say every time she says something different. It could be the same subject, but every time I say something different, and now that I'm getting older, I don't remember everything I say. I just start talking and it makes sense. And then later on, you'll say, remember you said? It's like, I don't remember that. So you got to stop me as I'm going so that I can share things with you that are relevant to you. Okay? So let's start with, what is achieving sustainable success? I want to talk to you about what to expect. I want to talk about leveraging this as an opportunity. And then there are 3 very important things I want you to become aware of. That is managing and developing remote workers, mental wellness to improve performance, and change management. If I can get you all to send me, maybe just a couple of you can share with me, how are there any people listening who manage other people? Are there any managers or anyone in leadership?
So all the Zoom participants, type in your answers if you are managing people, and we'll read it for Dr. Triplett.
And I can see 2 participants raise their hand. Great.
Nathalie, Junji, Cecilia, Cyrene, Bretta May. Yes, they are leading people.
Okay, wonderful. Now, the rest of you, if you don't see yourself as managing or developing employees, I want you to think about it like this. There's a thing called self-management. So we all are managers, and we all must be tasked at leading. So you see on the screen, I talk about leading. I want you to know, whether you raise your hand or not, you're going to be called in a much different way to lead, if not others, yourself. And that's critical to understand. So that's another truth I want you to really take away, that as we move into this next new normal, it is not about formal titles. You really don't need formal titles to sit at home to work any longer. It's really about what you're performing as and how you see yourself. So look at this picture. I love this picture. It says, everyone grab an oar. And you see a picture of these guys. Now, this is probably management or leadership sitting at the one end, and then you have the employees bailing out the water at the other end. let me share with you where I came up with this concept. Love it. I used to work for an organization, a hospital, and it was a hospital in Atlanta, Georgia called Grady. And what's interesting about this hospital, it is known around the country as the hospital you go to if you're in a car pileup or if you're dying. But it is not the hospital you go to if you have a cold. The joke was, if you go there and you've been shot up multiple times, you will live. But if you go there with a cold, you're gonna die, because they were always they're a crisis place. So I worked for this place, and at one point they decided to start. I don't know if you guys remember when everything started about downsizing. Everybody was downsizing, so they started downsizing at this hospital, and my boss, her boss, and her boss's boss were fired already. So she knew she was on the chopping blocks next. And she would say to me, everyone grab an oar. The ship is sinking. And her thing was, when things start going down, when the boat starts sinking, people usually want to either get off the boat and swim to safety, get off the boat, go to someone else's boat. But basically, people don't understand that we're all in it together, and we got to row our way to safety. And I heard this, I'll never forget this saying by Martin Luther King, who was one of our greatest civil rights leaders. He said, we may have all come on different ships, but we're all in the same boat now. That is key to understanding this whole corona issue, that we are all in the same boat. There is no more Howell's over in that department, so I don't have to worry about him because he's in sales and marketing, and if they cut sales and marketing, I still got my job. No, everyone has to grab an oar. We all have to row to safety. And that whole concept of the plane, when a plane is having issues, the whole thing now, the whole movement is self-care and put on your own mask, right? Well, that's on a plane. We're not in a plane right now. We're in a boat. And guess what? The boat is rocking because we're in a storm. And in this storm, no one gets to sit back and look at everyone else and figure out how they can just avoid what's coming. We're all in this together. So I need you to understand that as I go through what I'm talking about. So the things that I'm talking about really boils down to change. We are in the midst of change. Every day is change. And it's amazing. I don't know if you notice, Howell, but I'm in the house with two different people. And each of us are dealing with this totally different than each other. And so something I want you to understand is that statistically, they have come to say that change has a 70% failure rate. That's statistically. So what they're saying basically is that the MCO, which is about change, different lockdowns, different shutdowns, different things that we're doing to deal with this virus, 70% is not going to work, because usually the plans aren't well thought out. They don't have everyone on board. People don't understand. There's a lot of confusion. When you put all that in, that's why change doesn't work. So you all, looking at your company and looking at your career, what are you doing to make sure that you have a successful whatever it is? So think about it like this, you all. I want you to look on your desk, wherever you are. Just look, like for instance, I have here a cup. I want you to take whatever is on your desk and put it somewhere else. Go ahead. Take something on your desk, put it somewhere else. So what you just did was change. That was fast. That was quick. You just moved something to someplace else. Now, what is slow is how you feel about it. See, some of you are looking at whatever you moved and you're like, I don't want my water over here. I want my water over here because it's easier for me to get to. But if I leave it there, I'm still feeling the change. And see, the reason why change doesn't always work is because we look at the technical part of change. This is technical. That's technical. But how you feel about it, that is what causes the disruption in our lives, in our career, in our company. It's the people component of change. And so we have to make sure that whatever you do as a business leader, as a corporate leader, as a manager, as a self-manager, how are you handling the change that is occurring? How are you handling it? Are you talking to people about it? So if you want your change effort to work, there has to be some things that will take place, and I'll be talking about that a little bit later. That is my last slide where I really drill in more about change. So when we start looking at why change efforts fail, it's because of a lack of skilled employees. It's skilled employees. Sometimes we don't have the employees that we need in the right seat. There's a book that talks about having the right employees on the right bus in the right seat. And now you may have started seeing that some people are on board that have been in the wrong seat for years. And maybe it's just a matter of tweaking. Maybe it's a matter of even taking them off the bus and putting them on a different bus. I can't speak for you what will work for you, but now is the time that you should start paying attention to your organization and assessing what works and what's not working. So skilled employees equal good employees. If you look at this picture in the corner, it says good employees are directly proportional to success. When they're working in unison and when they support the mission, the goals, the vision, that's when they're a good employee. And very often, when things were normal, we didn't really give employees an option to show that they were on board and that they were a good employee. But now, with skilled employees, you will have good employees. So that means we need to make sure our employees are skilled. Let me say this. What we're doing right now is training, for lack of a better phrase, right? And there's a thing that we do in the US called IDP, Individual Development Plans. Different companies, different organizations, different countries call it different things, KPIs and so forth. So let me just really level set for you. What we are doing right now is what we call knowledge, KSA, knowledge, skills, abilities. And very often we overtrain people. In America, I used to write about this, that Americans are overtrained. I guarantee you, even in the Philippines, people are overtrained. And what I mean by that is that they get a lot of knowledge, but do they get the opportunity to develop skills? Or do they have the opportunity to increase their abilities? What I'm giving you is pure knowledge, K, not S. So what I'm saying is, when you finish with this, taking notes, looking at it, then figure out what skills do I need to increase, enhance, develop, so that either I'm a good employee or I am creating good employees. So here are the three things that I want to cover to really deal with that. Remote workers. In America, I used to call it telecommuters. I love telecommuters because it's not really about remote. I don't like the phrase remote, and let me tell you why. When I think of remote, I think of an island. Remote, it's away. Nothing good comes out of isolation. Nothing good comes out of being alone. So if we leave people alone to their own devices out there, they're remote in their office, their home office. I don't think that brings unity. I don't think that is healthy. So I prefer telecommuters. And why I call it telecommuters is that when you are commuting to work, you're in a car. Now we're on a phone, we're on internet. So it's telecommute. So I'm going to use the word remote because that's what a lot of people know, but I prefer telecommuting. So every now and then I'm going to say telecommuter, and you'll know I'm talking about remote workers. So I'm going to be talking about remote workers and why it's important for us to get them skilled up. I see something there. That's right. Change of title. Yes. I like it too. See, you guys are talking to me. Thank you. Then the next thing we're going to talk about is mental wellness. Now, again, so that it is, what's the word? User friendly. I use the word mental wellness, but I'm going to tell you all what it really is. Mental health. I'm going to talk about mental health. And that is so taboo that we keep trying to change it into other words. But at the end of the day, when you see the word mental, it is what it is. So we're going to talk about mental well-being and why that's important for you as a skilled employee and as a good employer. And then the last thing, I'm going to circle back around and really drill in deep about change management. So those are my 3 platforms for you all today, because everything that people are talking about really comes back to those 3 things. I bet my life on it. And the thing is, the reason why I was successful for 20-something years with my company is because I was able to predict where my government was going. As you know, we have we vote in a president, and every time we vote in a new president, over 20 years, I had different presidents that I had to work under. And a lot of people end up going out of business because if a Democrat get in, they may not be as user-friendly for small businesses, while if a Republican get in, they may not be all that great for programs that are about people. So that's the myth. But at the end of the day, when you figure out where things are going, then you can navigate it and you can be aligned with where you need to go. So these are the 3 things I want to share with you, because these are the 3 things that I have seen for myself to manifest and become very critical when we start talking about disruption. So good employees will embrace change is the last piece. So here I have work-life balance at a new level. Now, tell me if I'm wrong. People have complained forever about wanting work-life balance. Everybody said, I want work-life balance. People have prayed for it. They've done everything to get work-life balance. And guess what? Now you got it. Now you have it. You are sitting in the house with your kids, the little doggy sitting there, everybody's in the house together. But here's what I think you're probably realizing. And let me make sure. Howard, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Clearly, doctor.
Thank you. This is what I've come to know about work-life balance. It's a unicorn. Is that real? There's no such thing as work-life balance. This is why. What you're saying when you say you want work-life balance is, I want work and I want my life and I want it to be balanced. But no, you guys, you have life, you have work, you have family, you have parents, you have social, you have religion, you have clubs. You see what I mean? All of that falls under life. Work is not separate. It is not this weird entity out there that you go to. It's your life. It's part of your life. The problem that we have, you all, is that we don't know how much time to put in each of these. So this is where it's becoming very difficult for remote workers, for telecommuters, is that because we never learned how to balance our work, family, friends, social, the dog, the parents. Now that we're all under one roof, you really don't know what to do with it. You don't know when to wash clothes. You don't know when to get on the phone. I've seen people on business meetings holding their babies because they haven't figured out that life is one big thing and you have to compartmentalize it and manage it. And so when I talk to you all about this, the first thing is that you need to know how to manage as managers. How do you manage people who are sitting at home? Because if they've never learned how to manage work life in the office, why do we think that they're going to be able to do it naturally when they're sitting at home with all these distractions? So we got to learn how to manage these distractions. I have a friend here in Malaysia, and I won't say who she is or what university she works for, but get this. I needed her to read something for me. And it was around 10 o'clock at night. Now, she's a friend, so we're up late and we share stuff all the time. And she said, I'm going to have to get this to you first thing in the morning because I have to work. I have something I'm working on. Like, girl, it's almost 11 o'clock. What do you mean you're still working? She's like, I know. All day they send me stuff. And now I'm waiting for one of my colleagues to send something because we have to have it done by the morning time. Now, this is how she ended that conversation. As soon as I can, I'm quitting this job, but I have nowhere I can go right now. Leaders, managers of corporations, small businesses, you may be able to take advantage of people right now because they have no options. But when things open up, your best bet is to retain your top talent. She is top talent, and they don't know that she's thinking about going somewhere else as soon as she gets an opportunity because they're not managing her correctly. They're actually abusing her. I had a woman who became pregnant, had her child, and within 2 years, she got pregnant again. Now, mind you, I had 50 employees in Atlanta, Georgia, 50 employees in Washington, D.C. So I had quite a few employees for a small business. But I needed every person. Every person had many, many different roles under their position. And this person was a vice president. So you can only imagine she had a lot of responsibility. So she tried to hide that she was pregnant. Now, this is not a testament to me at the moment, but let me share with you. She was scared. She was scared that I would become angry because the last time she was pregnant, it was disruptive to our work. So she figured this time I probably would fire her. Well, by this time, I had already started taking leadership classes and actually working on my doctorate in values-driven leadership. So I understood servant leadership now. I understood compassion. I understood all these things that made me a better person and a better leader. So when I found out, when she got up enough courage to come to me, I said, well, have a seat. Let's figure out how we can make this work. So what we came up with is that she would work from home before she had the baby, so many days a week to get accustomed to it. And then after she had the baby, we would distribute her work to other people. And then after she's been home for a while, so that she can stay home longer with her children, we started working out a schedule for her to be home. Now, what that was based on is not what I needed. It was based on her work schedule, meaning she had a young baby. She started figuring out when the baby would be asleep. So that meant we did not have a 9-to-5 relationship. We had a relationship that she would sometimes start early in the morning, break away, and then come back midday, and then also be available in a little part of the evening because she was doing things around her life, around her family. And that worked wonderfully. I mean, we got more performance out of her. And that's the key. Don't, as you start working with telecommuters, you cannot evaluate them on FaceTime, what you see. You got to evaluate them on performance now. We've been talking performance for years, but we really haven't been doing that. We've been doing it based on, she got here at 8 o'clock and she didn't leave until 6. I really think she's one of my best performers. No, she's just a good show-upper. So we have to start focusing on people having results. And that means doing some things that you might not be comfortable with. You know, I'm a social person. I like seeing my employees. So I missed her being in the office. But then I learned that it was much better. Then I even started offering where our employees started saying, we want to do that. And it was working. So we started doing things where they could take off. They made long days, Monday through Thursday, long days, and they took off Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or they took off Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It was up to them. And I saw more performance. So you have to learn to manage people who are working from home. And that's just one example. There are slews of them. And the reason why I'm not going in deep, remember, this is about me sharing knowledge with you. If you would like to have actual skill building around this, more information, please get in touch with Ariva, because everything I'm talking about can be a customized program for your organization. So the next thing is employees becoming entrepreneurs. I love this. So we always hear about entrepreneurs, right? Everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. But some people never become an entrepreneur because they don't like the uncertainty of not having a paycheck and things like that. What I would like for you to do is think about your employees being an entrepreneur. That means they're internal to the organization, but they act like entrepreneurs. If I can get you all to just type in what are indicators or what are personalities or behaviors of entrepreneurs. Like, I'll give you one. Entrepreneurs come in before it's time to start work, meaning if you went to a donut shop and they start at 9 o'clock, but you're standing there at 9 o'clock and they say, oh, wait a minute, we haven't finished the donuts yet. What? You're a donut shop. That's all you should be doing. It's donuts. So you should be open for business. So an entrepreneur, it means if you work from 9 to 5, you log in like 8:15, 8:50. You don't log in at 9:10. Let me see, what does someone say? They take initiatives, so suggest solutions, possible problems. Yes, that's what an entrepreneur does. They also do time management. Yes, that's an entrepreneur. But guess what? If everyone could do that, they'd be an entrepreneur by now. Entrepreneurism, entrepreneurism is not natural. Actually, most people who are entrepreneurs are nuts. You got to be nuts to be able to say, I want to go out, I want to work as hard as I can, make probably nothing for a while, and love what I'm doing and worry about it every day. Who wants to do that? So when you think about entrepreneurs, risk taker, yes, that's an entrepreneur. So we have to teach people to be entrepreneurs. Conscious of cost saving measures, yes. Entrepreneurs will come to you because they will figure out ways to streamline things. But here's the thing, if you never gave them the opportunity to do it while in the office, how comfortable will they type in something and say, hey, I was working on this project and I figured out a way that we can do this in less time and less money if we do X, Y, Z. If they weren't able to do that with you while in the office, they're going to have even a harder time doing it away from you. So we have to teach them. Those are skills. Visionary, yes. These are all things that we have to teach our people if we want them to be successful as remote workers or telecommuters. Now, here's the last thing on this. I mean, there's a lot of things, but we only got so much time. Here's the last thing on the whole remote worker telecommuter. Change management, career management issues. One of the things, now let me share with you, I did probably 2 years of nothing but helping the federal government transition to telecommuters. That became a big thing back in 2008. So a lot of the stuff I'm telling you about, we started doing a long time ago for many reasons. One was to cut down costs. When you think about it, you spend more time in your vehicle getting to work. getting there and getting home, that we can trim all that off. So we started finding that it was more productive and got more performance by doing telecommuting. So the biggest thing that I found though is that people were very concerned about their career. And this is why. We like to say that we promote people based on what they do. But let me share something with you. This is the Indigoism. People hire you for what you can do and fire you for who you are. I very rarely see people get fired because they can't do the job. I see people get fired because I don't like them. I didn't like the way she did this. Did you notice how she does that? It's all about personality usually. It's very rarely about the work. It's about the person. People hire you for what you can do and usually fire you for who you are. Now, with that being said, if a person has left a bad image on the table before we went into lockdown, that's the image they remember you having of them. How do they climb out of that hole? At what point do they get to stop by your office and say, hey, boss, want to grab coffee? Those days are over. Well, at least for now. They may come back when we ever get out of lockdown. But say, for instance, if I offended Howell, and the next time I'm back in the Philippines, I can say, hey, Howell, let's grab dinner, let's grab lunch. And I can start working on that relationship. But if this is all we got, it's kind of hard. So people realize that it's difficult to manage your career. Also, think about it like this. At what time or point are they visible? See, there's a thing called manage by walking. Has anybody ever heard of that? Manage by walking. Now, I can get up right now and walk around this table and come back, and I haven't seen anybody. So my manage by walking doesn't work anymore. So you got to find other ways to get people involved. And this is what I recommend under career management issues. Start having more meetings, you all. Yes, we cut that out. Remember, everybody hated meetings. No, meetings are what's going to keep us together. I used to do what was called Monday morning meetings. Now, before I started taking leadership classes and became a better leader, which if you read any articles about me, it said my company became a multi-million-dollar company when I became a better leader. So this is something I learned. I used to do what was called Monday morning meetings. And I know, love me where I am. I'm just being transparent to help you. I used to call it MOURNING, Monday morning meetings, because this is what I knew. I was going to get you about all the stuff you did wrong. I'm going to bring awareness to how you messed up. I am going to clean house every Monday morning. I started losing best people that way. People started shutting down. People didn't want to have meetings. How many of you have seen people say, I hate meetings? They hate meetings because usually they are the source of your frustration. And they have learned that I don't want to be in meetings because they're going to call on me and I'm not going to be ready, or I'm going to be the one that's going to, be found out that I'm making mistakes. So, oh, thank you. Managed by Walking, Gemba in Japanese. Love it. Thank you. So, as I began to develop leadership skills, then I started calling Monday morning meetings. And on Monday mornings, we would come together. And what I would do before I even opened up anything, this is how great Monday morning meetings became. One, everyone had to be there. Even if you were remote, you had to call in. That's how important it was. Even if I was someplace else, I would call in for these Monday morning meetings, even if I wasn't heading it. And then I distributed in terms of who would all be responsible for the Monday morning meetings. So sometimes Howell would lead it. Sometimes Ann would lead it. So everyone got an opportunity to lead it. So no one felt as if they were just watching me and hearing me. And then I came up with practices for them to do. Like we may start and everyone would go around the room and we would say what we're grateful for. So I did things to really raise the vibration and the positivity in the room that people love. So people love coming to the meetings because they got edified, they got recognized. And these are three things that I want to share with you that people want. Everybody wants. I don't care where you are. One, I want you to understand is that love is a universal language. You got to speak the language of love. I don't care if you're a CEO of a MNC. I don't care if you're a small business owner or if you are a first line manager at a manufacturing company. The one language that is universal is love. I love my employees and I got more out of them and they got more out of me because of that language. The other language is a smile. I don't care where you go in the world. If you smile, people understand that. I don't know what it is, but anywhere in the world, the smile is universal. So those are two things. But here are the three things that I have come to understand on a universal level, you all. People want to be valued, respected, and heard. So in these Monday morning meetings, or as Raul said, no, not Raul, somebody said Friday. Oh, yeah, Hazel. As Hazel said, Friday night meetings. Make sure that people are valued, respected, and heard. Yes, you may have to give some bad news. Maybe you have to say some things that people are not going to agree with, but you have to do it with a level of respect to let people know that they're being heard and that you value them. And the last thing on that is that you must have more transparency. If something is happening in your organization that's going to impact them, the last thing anybody wants to do, I can guarantee you, Cecilia does not want to turn on the radio and hear that her company is downsizing. She needed to hear that before the media heard it. People need to hear from you. Leaders, your people need to know what you're thinking about doing. Even if you're not sure, you need to have a meeting, an all hands meeting, and Zoom can hold 100 people in each box. So you can have a lot of employees. You can even split it up, but you need to get on Zoom or something and say, thank you for joining me. I appreciate, I value, and I respect you as my employees. I want you to understand that we have everything under control. There are a couple of glitches we're working out, but I hope we're all back in the office soon. Be safe. They need to hear from you. You have to have what I call fireside chats, especially if you're HR. You HR people, this is beholden of you to have this conversation with your leaders to let them know they need to talk to your people if you want to drive out fear. And that is the next thing, driving out fear. You see this person sitting here? They have a lot of questions. I guarantee 2 out of 3 you can answer. One you may not know, but at least let them know you don't know. And I do this exercise where I give this scenario. And at the end, I ask people, what did they know from this story? And most of the time, people will never say they don't know. Something about adults don't like saying, I don't know. Have you ever had somebody give you bad instructions on how to get somewhere? And when you realize it, you realize they don't know where the place is at. But yet they tell you, take a right and go down about 2 blocks, take a left. Then they go, no, take a left. And you're sitting there like, I don't think they know. But they rather give you bogus instruction than to tell you the truth. Because the truth would mean, I don't know. So get in the habit of letting people know you don't know, but at least be transparent. So when we talk about the second thing that is very important here, it is mental wellness. Let me share with you all. When we come out of this, people are going to come out with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. See, a lot of times people think PTSD is from military, from war. No. Children who've been abused have PTSD. Women who've been abused have PTSD. Men who've been abandoned, like say their father left them or their wife left them, they sometimes suffer from PTSD. Post-traumatic stress disorder means your body is responding to something that is not, they weren't prepared for, and that it caused them to become very stressed. And the body continues to react to it even after the stress is gone. So when we come out of lockdown, guess what? People are stressed. People are fearful. You're going to have depression. You're going to have levels of sadness you've never seen before. You will have anxiety. And the thing is, I'm saying when we come out, it's already started. People are already stressed, depressed, anxious, and dealing with trauma, especially if they can't afford the place that they live, or if their job salary is being cut. That's very traumatic on people. And if you think for a second, people can come back to the office or even sit in their home and work on your project and not think about all that is going on in their life, you are sadly mistaken, because they are showing up as whole people. Like I'm in my home right now, and I have, remember, life, work, family, parents, grandparents, children in college. All of these are my responsibility and in my purview, right? If one of them go wrong, I cannot just sit here and act like nothing's wrong. I can, but you know what that's called? It's called presentism. See, there's absenteeism when people stop coming to work, and then there's presenteeism. That's where they're showing up, but they're really not there. And so you have to understand mental distress, that people are under mental distress, and you're going to have to deal with it. Unfortunately, many of us think they should be adults and go and get help, but many of them will suffer in silence. They won't say anything because of the stigma associated with mental disorder or dis-ease. So you're going to have to put initiatives in place to help them. CNN is one of my clients back in the day where I did mental health for them. And here is how taboo mental health is. If you called CNN right now and said, did you work with a Dr. Indigo on PTSD for your employees? They will say, we could neither confirm nor deny. That's it. No one admits to even getting these types of services because it is so stigmatic. But I think I made up a word. I don't know if stigmatic is true or real, but hey, let's make it work. Put it in Wikipedia. I said it, stigmatic. So we have to realize that we are moving into a new dawn, a new day where mental health is impacted. Think about it in this term. You have physical health. I cannot look at Howell and say he has no physical health, because he does. I can see it. But mental health is real too. Mental health is neither good nor bad. It is a state. It is good, healthy mental health, all the way to bad illness mental health. And you run along that spectrum. Now, here's where the problem comes in. You could be perfectly fine right now. Each one of you can be healthy between here and here. Healthy, right? But you can get a phone call tonight. That phone call can move you from here to right there. If you found out right now that your whole family, something, I'll use me as an example. I was here. I stay along in this area because I practice self-care and I understand mental health, things to do to take care of myself and to alleviate stress and so forth. But I was talking to one of my relatives back in Chicago, and she said my uncle was in the hospital with corona, and no one could talk to him because he was in a public hospital. He didn't have money, so he's not being treated with the utmost care, I assure you. He didn't have insurance. So we could not contact him. We couldn't talk to doctors. I cried. I moved from here to here. But I knew things to do to move from here back over here. And a lot of people don't know what to do because a lot of us aren't resilient. We haven't been tested. We haven't been in this situation. we don't talk about mental health. So a lot of people don't know things like, for instance, I'll give you one thing that you can do to change your mental health right now. Many of you are watching CNN and all these other news stations. I'm not saying don't watch the news, but I will say this. Think about a fire hydrant. A fire hydrant blows out water, right? I tell you, stop watching the news like it's a fire hydrant and take the news like this. Sip on it. Sip on the news. And this is what I mean by that. Is that, first of all, there is nothing new on the news. When was the last time you heard something new? It's not. So why are you watching it all day? Why are you letting it play in the background? Why are you going to bed with those nightmares? You know, when my sons and I sit down sometimes, we'll say, you want to watch a horror movie? And we're like, yeah. And we'll turn on the news. That's how bad the news can be. So if you want to increase your mental well-being, turn off the news. Watch it in small dosages, just enough that you're informed. And when they start repeating it, turn it off. You don't need to keep that in your subconscious, building, building, and building. The next thing is provide a platform for transparency. If you are in a decision-making role in your organization, you have to allow people to be able to come to you and say, I'm dealing with stress. I'm at my wit's end. I am. But if you don't allow them to do that, they're going to continue doing your work, but only at half capacity. Just this week, and that's why I say, you know, you got to stop me while I'm talking because I speak from the heart. Just this week, I went on a self-care moment. Last night, I did not go to my Rotary meeting. And they were like, oh, Indigo, we're having fellowship. You need to come to Rotary. And I wrote them, I am doing self-care. I needed that for me because this is why anyone that's been following me will know that when we first went on lockdown, every day I did a live cast on healing and wellness and all that kind of stuff. And anyone that does this kind of stuff knows it's draining. Then I went to 2 days a week. And then I did 2 days a week plus a Serenity Sunday, where I come on Sunday and I do more of a spiritual conversation for an hour. Draining, but I love it. You can love something and it can still be draining. Think about stress does not know positive and negative stress. Your body doesn't know the difference. It takes it all in. So think about it like this. Have you ever been a part of a wedding? All positive, right? But when you're done, you are exhausted. So stress does not know positive or negative. It only knows of being overwhelmed. And because I talk about this stuff so much, my children understand it. And my son said, Mom, you need to listen to yourself. You have told people how to put on the mask. You have gone up and down the aisle showing people how to use the mask. You've even helped people do their seatbelt, and you made sure everyone's seatbelt is fastened. It's time for you to sit down and put on your seatbelt and mask. And he was right. I was exhausted this week. And so that is self-care, and a lot of people don't know how to do self-care. So if we go back to number 2 and someone comes to you and say, I'm exhausted, it's up to you to say, why don't you take a day off? Take a day off. Because here's my thought on this. If your company is going to go in the ground from one of your employees taking a day off, you have bigger problems than that. We have to allow people to heal over the next few months. So that's a whole nother, I mean, I can go on and on. Like I said, we have workshops on this stuff, but you got to allow people to be transparent. And then increase communication in meetings. Once again, this is your opportunity to see your employees. Be careful of allowing employees to come in and only putting up a silhouette of themselves or a character of themselves. You want to see them. And when you start seeing employees with bags under their eyes, maybe they had a full head of hair and now it's less and less, those are signs of stress. You can see stress. Stress It's like wearing a whole outfit. It just covers you up. So in these meetings, challenge people to show themselves. And if that's the case where people don't want to because it's early and they don't feel presentable, do it in the evening, like someone said, they do it Friday evening. But definitely allow people to show up as themselves. Okay, the last one, and that will bring conclusion and we can have our break. So, change management, you guys. I want to end with this. You see the picture here. We have the candle, we have the light bulb, we have the fluorescent, and now we have that spaceship light bulb. Back in the day, I guarantee you, whoever came up with the first light, that lamp being the candle, was patting themselves on the back and said, "We did it. We can now walk outside at night. We can now read in the dark. You know, we have light indoors. We will be relevant forever." Then the light bulb came. We don't need the light bulb. We don't need the lamp as much. Then the fluorescent came. So now things keep changing. But here's the thing. We still have candles, right? So it's still around, but do we use it for the same purpose? Not necessarily, unless you want to get romantic. And I'm single, so no candles burning up in this camp. But for those of you who have somebody locked in with you, good for you. Bring out the candles. But candles, by and large, are not used for the same thing. You can go to the store and you'll still see candles, but you see more light bulbs, all kinds of long ones and everything. So what does that mean for you all? What I'm telling you is that if you want to thrive, you must change. You must remain relevant. Look at your organization and figure out, what do you need? What do you have in terms of your bench strength? Who do you have available in your company that you can actually pull at any point to do certain things? You might need the guy who's the candle, but what else can he offer? What else can he do? Do you need to skill him up so that he can do other things? For instance, drop some oil. Now he's a scented candle. So it's being creative, it's being innovative, and understanding that there's other things that we must do to make sure that everyone is relevant, to include you. It's not just about your company and its products and services. Are you still relevant? I had to start doing this stuff. People told me to do this years ago, and I refused. I said, I am not doing online. I'm a brick and mortar girl. I like being in the classroom. I like being on the stage. The world is my stage. Now I'm sitting in my living room or in my dining room, and that's where it has gone. If I would have picked up on this, I would be so much further ahead than everyone else that are now scrambling to do this, because I would have had a following by now. Now I'm trying to grow a following. So don't be that person who wait until everything has happened to say, well, maybe I should have a light bulb. You never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. Don't fight what's happening. Leverage what's happening. This was a futurist that came up with this a long time ago. If you take what's happening now and figure out, how do I leverage this? You will be in a much better position. I'm spiritual, so allow me to have my spiritual moment, Howard. I give God glory on all that is happening because it is allowing me to step into my greatness. I was pretty great up on that big stage, but right now I am figuring out ways to be even greater. So this is your opportunity, Asia, to step into your greatness. This is your opportunity to show the world that you are in front of what's happening, not following what's happening. If you don't, remember, those who do will thrive. Those who try will survive, and those who don't will die. Please tweet that. Dr. Indigo said, and I'm going to turn it back over to Howard.
Thank you so much, Dr. Indigo. Big hand, everyone. Put your hands together for Dr. Indigo.
My pleasure.
not only did you inform us with great knowledge, you also have inspired us. And thank you for bringing into the scene the need to be spiritual. I love I love it when you said step into your greatness, which means the greatness is there. We just have to step into it. I feel like I felt like I was in a church. I still feel like I'm in a church. And imagine, this is the power of not only your spiritual strength and experience in life, it's also the power of your compassion. And when you mentioned about value, respect, and hear your people, that's wonderful. And that is the key for every one of us, not only to survive, but also thrive.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll all be dead.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Dr. Indigo.
My pleasure.
For our participants, here's what we need to do, because we will be going on a break for 2 minutes, and Dr. Indigo has to get herself a cup of coffee, or you might want to or grab a bite. So we'll give you 2 minutes to have whatever it is during our 2-minute break, and type in your question at the Q&A box. And when we return after 2 minutes, we'll be back for the second part. If the first part has been enriching and exciting, I'm sure the second part will be even more of that, because we will hear directly from Dr. Indigo your personal questions, and be ready to be spiritual charged. Don't go away. We'll be right back in 2 minutes.
Thank you, Howell.
Thank you so much, Dr. Indigo.